My father texted, "We've decided to cut you off. Stay away from us forever." My sister liked the message. I replied, "I'll remove my name from every loan tomorrow." By midnight, the family chat exploded in all caps panic. The next day, on my lunch break, scrolling emails at work, a notification popped up. My own family, the people who raised me, sent a text that cut me out of their lives forever, then absolutely lost their minds when I actually took them seriously. This isn't just about a text message. It's about the shocking betrayal that finally forced me to choose between my own sanity and the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally. Let me take you back to that Tuesday. I'm Dalton, 28, a financial analyst working in downtown Chicago. It was a normal lunch break, just skimming client emails, when my phone buzzed. The sender, Dad. My stomach tightened instantly, a Pavlovian response after years of criticism. The message flashed on screen. "We've chosen to sever all contact. Stay away from us forever." I swear my world stopped spinning. Below it, a small heart icon. Melissa, my sister, had liked the text. My hands, they were shaking so hard I could barely type. My response, raw and immediate. "I'll remove my name from every loan tomorrow." By midnight, my family chat had exploded into an absolute storm of capitalized, screaming fury. I grew up in Oakwood Heights, a middle-class suburb. Our house was a modest colonial, perpetually needing a deck my dad started building when I was 10. My father, Richard, was in construction management, and he brought that same demanding oversight, an iron grip disguised as tough love, home every single night. Every achievement was met with a dismissive nod, like, "That's expected, not exceptional." Every failure? Oh, that was dissected at the dinner table, served cold with whatever my mother, Eleanor, had cooked. My mom was his perfect complement, a passive-aggressive expert at weaponizing silence, always backing up his harshest critiques with a soft, calm, "Your father just wants what's best for you, Dalton." Then there was Melissa, 3 years younger, the perpetual golden child. I worked myself ragged for straight A's, only to hear, "That's your job." Melissa got a B+, and there were celebrations, ice cream, the works. The disparity wasn't subtle. Money was always tight. My dad's paycheck stretched thin, my mom's retail job barely covered groceries. There was never enough for extras. By 16, I was working after school, handing over most of my paycheck. I didn't question it then. That's what family did, right? High school was my battlefield for their approval. I joined every club, played varsity baseball even though I hated it, maintained a 4.0 GPA. Still, when college letters came in and Princeton rejected me, I heard, "You didn't push yourself enough." Getting into Northwestern with a partial scholarship felt like my first real victory. It meant freedom, 18 miles of physical distance that felt like 18,000. Those 4 years were transformative. I made real friends, people who valued me for me, not for what I achieved. I learned what it felt like to breathe without someone measuring the oxygen in each exhale. Then reality hit. $63,000 in student debt and a recession. Moving back home was one of the hardest decisions I ever made. 3 months turned into 2 years of stifled independence, renewed criticism, and increasingly uncomfortable financial entanglements. Dalton, since you're living here rent-free, co-signing Melissa's car loan is the least you can do. That was the first of many financial hooks. My credit score was excellent. I'd been meticulous in college, knowing it was my ticket out. Soon, my name was on a home equity loan for renovations, a personal loan for my dad's back surgery, and as guarantor on Melissa's apartment after she dropped out of community college. Golden handcuffs, I call them now. When I finally landed my position at Mitchell and Reed 3 years ago, I thought things would change. I got my own apartment, started setting boundaries. "No, I can't come over at 11 p.m. to fix your computer," and began saying no to new financial requests. Each refusal was met with escalating emotional warfare. Guilt trips from my mother, angry tirades from my father, tearful accusations from Melissa. My recent promotion to senior analyst came with a significant salary increase. Somehow, my family knew about it before my first new paycheck. The requests started immediately. Money for Melissa's phone case business, a loan for my parents' 25th anniversary trip, co-signing another refinance on their perpetually underwater mortgage. For the first time, I said no to everything. The temperature in our already frosty relationship dropped to sub-zero. The cracks in our family facade widened into chasms. Last Thanksgiving, I brought a bottle of wine, a small luxury to celebrate my promotion. My father took one sip and launched into a lecture about putting on airs. When I mentioned considering a condo, my mother interjected, "I hope you're not planning to move farther away. You already barely visit as it is." The truth? I visited every Sunday, without fail, sitting through 3-hour dinners filled with critique. Each visit left me emotionally drained. I'd started seeing a therapist, Dr. Lauren Mitchell, who helped me recognize these interactions as emotional manipulation. She encouraged healthier boundaries, advice that proved impossible without outright conflict. When I declined midweek dinners for my sanity, the guilt offensive began. My mother called daily with medical concerns that magically resolved before I could suggest a doctor. My father sent texts questioning my loyalty. Melissa showed up unannounced, usually needing money or a signature. The real breaking point was Easter dinner 2 months ago. Melissa announced she needed $20,000 for a boutique lease. All eyes turned to me. "I'm not in a position to invest that kind of money right now," I said, voice carefully neutral. "Invest? Who said anything about investing? We're talking about helping your sister," my father thundered. "I'd pay you back, obviously," Melissa added, with an eye roll that suggested the opposite. I tried to explain. "I've looked over her business plan. The numbers don't add up. Market research is minimal." "Oh, listen to Mr. Financial Analyst," my father interrupted. "Too good for honest work now, aren't you? Judging real entrepreneurs." The argument escalated. My mother cried. Melissa stormed out. My father pointed his finger an inch from my face and said words I'll never forget. "Everything you have is because of this family. Don't you ever forget that." I left early, ignoring the barrage of texts that followed. For the first time, I didn't apologize. I didn't smooth things over. I just didn't respond. The weeks that followed brought escalating pressure tactics. My mother left tearful voicemails. My father alternated between icy silence and explosive phone calls. Melissa weaponized our extended family, telling cousins I'd abandoned her. Relatives I hadn't spoken to in years were messaging me about family obligations. Then, the ultimate betrayal. I discovered my parents had attempted to use my information to secure a personal loan without my knowledge. The bank called me. When confronted, my mother dismissed it. My father accused me of making mountains out of molehills. I consulted a lawyer friend who advised me to freeze my credit. When my family discovered this, the temperature dropped further. Sunday dinners became hostile. My father made pointed comments about ungrateful children. My mother sighed dramatically. Melissa bounced between ignoring me and making passive-aggressive comments about supportive brothers. I stopped sharing details about my life. Each disclosure became ammunition. The Sunday before that text, I declined dinner altogether. I was emotionally exhausted. The barrage of messages ranged from guilt-inducing, "Dad made your favorite roast for nothing," to outright accusatory, "You clearly think you're too good for this family now." I didn't know it then, but I was on the precipice of the biggest family explosion of my life. Tuesday morning, like any other. Alarm, gym, coffee. Commute, preparing for a $2 million client meeting. Noon, confident, catching up on emails. And then, the text. "Dad, we've chosen to sever all contact. Stay away from us forever." Melissa's heart reaction. My hands grew clammy, heart hammering. A cold sweat broke out. Those 11 words, erasing 28 years. No context. No explanation. Just a unilateral decision delivered via text during my lunch break. In that moment of shock, my financial analyst brain took over, calculating the practical implications. Every loan, every entanglement, flashed through my mind. Without conscious thought, my fingers typed, "I'll remove my name from every loan tomorrow." I pressed send. Nausea washed over me. I closed my eyes, trying to regulate my breathing as Dr. Mitchell taught me. When I opened them, my phone was lighting up. "You ungrateful piece of garbage. Dalton, how could you say such a horrible thing? Wow, showing your true colors." The messages kept coming, vitriolic, guilt-laden. They had told me to stay away forever, but my threat to disentangle financially? That had crossed an unforgivable line. "Dalton, we're up in 5. James, my colleague, stood there, looking concerned. "You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." "Yeah, I'm fine," I lied, gathering my things. I made it through the presentation on autopilot, years of professionalism carrying me. Inside, I was unraveling, my phone vibrating continuously. Back at my desk, I scrolled through 47 texts in the family chat. Rage, manipulation, personal attacks. Not once did anyone acknowledge the original message telling me to stay away. Then my desk phone rang. Reception. Mr. Campbell, there's a Richard Campbell here to see you. He says it's urgent. My father had driven downtown in rush hour traffic. Panic. Please tell him I'm in a meeting. I managed. 5 minutes later, sir, he's becoming rather insistent. Security is asking if they should escort him out. The image of my father being removed by security guards was terrifying, and, I admit, strangely satisfying. I'll come down, I said. In the lobby, my father stood, red-faced. His work clothes conspicuous among the suits. What the hell do you think you're playing at? He demanded. Let's talk outside, I said, acutely aware of the receptionist's wide eyes. On the sidewalk, he unleashed his fury. How dare I threaten their financial security? How I'd always been selfish. How this temper tantrum would destroy my mother. A greatest hits compilation of emotional manipulation. Dad, I finally interrupted. You literally texted me to stay away forever. What did you expect? He looked momentarily confused, then dismissive. That was about Sunday dinner. You've been so difficult lately, we decided it wasn't worth the stress. The casual rewriting of reality left me speechless. That's not what the message said. Don't be so dramatic. This is exactly your problem. Always making everything about you. As his tirade continued, my phone buzzed. Melissa, a public Facebook post. When your own brother threatens to destroy your parents financially because he's mad about being called out on his selfishness. Some people never grow up. Comments accumulated. Sympathetic responses. The public smearing had begun. The drive home was a blur. My mind raced through 28 years, re-examining every interaction. Had I always been just a financial resource? Was any of the love real? The questions circled like vultures. I made it to my parking garage, engine off, and the emotional dam broke. Great, heaving sobs, my hands gripping the steering wheel. I cried for the little boy trying to earn approval, for the young man signing away his independence, and for the present-day Dalton, now the villain in his own story. When the worst passed, I called Marcus, my college roommate. I need to talk. It's bad. I'm ordering pizza and coming over, he said without hesitation. Marcus arrived with food, beer, and a solid presence. I showed him everything. Dude, he said, this is next-level toxic. That's gaslighting 101. We spent hours analyzing. When my phone kept lighting up, he told me to turn it off. Tomorrow's soon enough to deal with the fallout. Right now, you need rest. But rest was elusive. I lay awake, replaying family memories. The fishing trip, my dad's rare smile. My mom's whispered proud. Helping Melissa win the science fair. Had those moments been real, or was I romanticizing a family that never truly existed? Morning brought only exhaustion. I called in sick. Instead, I spent the day documenting every financial connection. Co-signer on the home equity loan, $35,000. Guarantor on Melissa's apartment, 17 months left. Joint credit card, $8,000. Melissa's car loan, $12,000. Personal loan for dad's medical expenses, $7,000. Plus utilities. The entanglement was extensive, deliberately so. Each obligation had been presented as temporary, as helping family. But collectively, they were golden handcuffs. My phone, finally back on, continued its stream. My father had called my direct supervisor. My mother left 7 voicemails. Melissa's social media campaign had expanded. The most disturbing? Messages from extended family and friends, all repeating the same curated version of events. My father's brother, my mother's best friend, even my old baseball coach, condemning me. The isolation was crushing. My truth was being systematically erased. By evening, exhaustion transformed into a cold, clear anger. It felt strangely steadying. For the first time, I saw the patterns, the love bombing, then criticism, financial hooks disguised as help, public image maintained at all costs. Dr. Mitchell had said rock bottom was the foundation for new structures. Sitting there, surrounded by financial documents, I realized I'd hit that foundation. There was nowhere to go but up. The knock came at 7:15 a.m. Saturday. Free sharp wraps. Through the peephole, I saw my mother and Melissa. For a moment, I considered not answering. Then, squaring my shoulders, I opened the door. Oh, thank God. My mother exclaimed, pushing past me. We've been worried sick. Melissa followed, giving my apartment a dismissive once-over. They hadn't called, hadn't texted. A deliberate power move. What are you doing here? I asked, voice neutral. My mother's eyes immediately welled. Is that any way to greet your family? You told me to stay away forever. I reminded her. Now you're in my living room at 7 a.m. Saturday. Don't be so literal, Dalton. Melissa snapped. God, you always take everything so personally. My mother settled onto my couch. Your father is beside himself. He hasn't slept in days. Because of the text he sent, or because of my response? I asked. Both, I suppose, she sighed. He says things he doesn't mean. I remained standing. And the part about severing all contact? Did he mean that? Well, you've been so distant lately, my mother hedged. What were we supposed to think? The revision of reality was dizzying. In their version, my father's text was a reasonable response to my behavior. I felt the familiar pull to apologize, to keep the peace. The words nearly formed. Then, I caught myself. Why are you really here? Melissa exchanged a glance with my mother. We need to discuss the loans, she said, bluntly. There it was. Not concern, not reconciliation, but panic over finances. I've started the process to remove myself, I confirmed. The banks have been very helpful. My mother's hand flew to her chest. You can't be serious. After all we've done for you. What exactly have you done for me? The question came out, and censored. The first time I directly challenged their narrative of parental sacrifice. We raised you, my mother exclaimed, genuinely shocked. That's the legal minimum, I pointed out. Not some extraordinary gift. Melissa flushed. You've always been the spoiled one. Always got the best of everything. The alternate reality they inhabited never ceased to amaze me. I worked through high school to pay for my own clothes. I reminded her. You got a car for your 16th birthday. I took the bus. Here we go again. Melissa rolled her eyes. My phone rang. Dad. My mother snatched it, put it on speaker. Richard, we're here with him now, she said. Put that ungrateful son of a bitch on, my father's voice boomed. You're on speaker, Dad, I said evenly. What the hell do you think you're doing? He demanded. I'm doing exactly what I said I would do, I replied. You'll destroy this family, he shouted. Is that what you want? You literally told me I'm not part of this family anymore. Remember? Stay away forever. Your exact words. That was different. I was upset about you missing Sunday dinner. For the third time, that is not what you said, I insisted. And if removing my name from loans I never should have been on in the first place destroys the family, maybe the family was built on a pretty shaky foundation. My mother began to sob, the theatrical cries I'd witnessed my entire life. Melissa glared at me. Your mother is having heart palpitations because of you, my father accused. Are you happy now? Same script. Displeasure, attack, victimhood. For the first time, I could see the manipulation clearly. Mom, if you're having chest pain, I'm happy to call an ambulance, I said calmly. Her sobs immediately moderated. No, I'll be fine. I just need my son back. I never left, I pointed out. You told me to stay away. We didn't mean it literally. Melissa exploded. God, why are you being such a jerk? Tell him about the business loan, my father interjected. Melissa shot him a warning look. Dad, not now. Tell him, he insisted. He's already screwing us over. Might as well put all the cards on the table. My mother dabbed at perfectly dry eyes. We've been approved for a business loan for Melissa's boutique, she explained, voice suddenly businesslike. But we need one more co-signer with excellent credit. The pieces clicked into place with nauseating clarity. The text wasn't about Sunday dinner. It was a calculated attempt to punish me for refusing the previous loan request, a guilt trip to bring me back in line. When I'd responded by threatening their financial security, panic had set in. No, I said simply. You haven't even heard the terms, my mother protested. The same business plan I already reviewed and found fundamentally flawed. I interrupted. There's been some adjustments, Melissa said vaguely. Let me guess. The loan amount has increased. Their silence confirmed it. How much? I pressed. 50,000, my father finally answered. The number hit me like a physical blow. They had come to my apartment, expecting me to co-sign for $50,000, days after telling me to stay away forever. The audacity was breathtaking. This is why you're here, I said, the realization settling cold and heavy. Not because you care about our relationship. Not because you want reconciliation. You need my signature on a loan document. Family helps family, my mother insisted. That's what we do. Except when family sets boundaries. Apparently, then they get told to stay away forever. You're twisting everything. Melissa shouted. You've always been so selfish, Dalton. If I'd been thinking about myself first, I replied, I never would have co-signed any of these loans to begin with. My father's voice cut through. Listen to me very carefully. If you go through with removing your name from our loans, you will destroy your mother's credit rating, force your sister out of her apartment, and possibly cause us to lose our home. Is that what you want on your conscience? The question was designed to trigger maximum guilt. Another familiar tactic. But something had shifted inside me. The fog of obligation and emotional manipulation had lifted. What I want, I said clearly, is to be treated with basic respect. What I want is acknowledgement that I'm an adult who can make my own financial decisions. What I want is a family who values me for who I am, not what I can provide financially. So dramatic, Melissa scoffed. Always have to make everything about your feelings. Yes, I agreed, surprising her. My feelings do matter. So does my financial security. Your security? My father exploded. What about our security? After everything we've sacrificed for you. Name one thing, I challenged. Name one significant sacrifice you've made for my benefit that wasn't legally required of you as parents. The silence stretched, broken only by my mother's renewed sniffling. That's what I thought, I said quietly. My mother rose, gathering her purse. I don't even recognize you anymore, she whispered. My son would never treat his family this way. Your son grew up, I replied, and realized he deserves better than emotional blackmail, disguised as family love. You have 24 hours to change your mind, my father's voice declared from the phone. After that, don't expect any forgiveness when you come crawling back. I won't be crawling anywhere, I said, opening my apartment door. And I won't be changing my mind. Melissa stormed past me, pausing in the hallway. I'm going to make sure everyone knows what you've done. Everyone. My mother followed more slowly, playing the wounded matriarch. When you're all alone with no one who loves you, remember this was your choice. As they disappeared down the hallway, my father still raging, tiny and small, through the phone speaker, I felt a curious lightness. I ended the call mid-tirade and closed my door, leaning against it in the sudden silence of my apartment. For the first time in my adult life, I had chosen myself over family obligation and survived. The world hadn't ended. I hadn't disintegrated from guilt. Instead, something unfamiliar took root in my chest. The solid foundation of self-respect. Monday morning, I walked into Grayson Financial Advisors. Catherine Grayson, a no-nonsense certified financial planner, listened intently. So, she said, after reviewing my situation, you want to disentangle yourself from approximately $72,000 in loans and financial obligations that aren't yours. Hearing the total sum spoken aloud made my stomach clench, but I nodded. Yes, as quickly and cleanly as possible. Catherine didn't ask for the emotional backstory, for which I was grateful. She simply laid out options, consequences, and timelines. This won't be painless, she warned, but it's entirely doable. From Catherine's office, I went to Robert Hawley, an attorney specializing in family law. Robert's approach was more personable, encouraging me to share the context. Financial abuse within families is far more common than people realize, he told me. He drafted formal letters, recommended credit monitoring, and advised documenting everything. If things escalate, you'll want a clear record. The practical actions felt empowering after days of emotional turmoil. Each signature, each email sent, each account modification was a small reclamation of my independence. By Wednesday, the process was fully in motion. My name was off utilities. The credit card frozen. Banks were reviewing loan removal requests. My father's response was swift and predictable, a threatening voicemail Wednesday night. You have no idea what you've started. I built you, and I can destroy you just as easily. Your job, your reputation, everything you think is yours. It can all disappear overnight. Following Robert's advice, I saved it without responding. The next morning, I requested security cameras for my apartment door. That evening, I found my car keyed in the parking garage. Traders scratched deeply across the driver's side. The police officer was sympathetic. Family disputes can get ugly. You might want to consider a restraining order. Melissa's social media campaign continued, daily posts about betrayal. She never named me directly, but everyone who knew us understood. Former classmates, distant relatives, even church members, condemning my alleged behavior without knowing any details. The digital pylon was painful, but clarifying. These people had witnessed my family dynamic growing up, yet accepted the curated public image. None had seen the controlling behavior, the financial manipulation, the emotional blackmail. Their willingness to condemn me without facts spoke volumes about my family's image management. What surprised me most was the support from unexpected quarters. My supervisor called me in, and I braced for professional fallout. "Dalton," he said gravely, "we value your work here. Whatever's happening in your personal life, it won't affect your position." Relief flooded through me. "Family stuff can be complicated," he continued. "If you need personal days, let me know." That brief acknowledgement of understanding meant more than any elaborate expression of support. Other small kindnesses followed. Colleagues formed a buffer at lunch. Security escorted me to my car. My neighbor, Judith, left homemade lasagna. Most surprisingly, my father's sister, Aunt Patricia, reached out. We'd lost touch years ago after her own falling out with him. Her message, "Dalton, I heard through the grapevine. I've been there. Call me if you want to talk to someone who understands." Our conversation lasted 3 hours, filling in family history gaps I'd never known. How my father had manipulated their parents, tried the same tactics with Patricia until she cut ties 15 years ago. Generational cycles of control. "The guilt fades," she assured me. "The freedom is worth it." As the financial separation progressed, I started seeing Dr. Mitchell twice weekly. She introduced me to resources on family estrangement, support groups, and techniques for processing the complex grief of losing family relationships while the family members were still living. "You're mourning the family you thought you had, and the family you wished you had," she explained. Marcus remained a steadfast presence. He also introduced me to his friend Audrey, who understood. "The first 6 months are the hardest," she told me. "Then one day, you wake up, and you're breathing easier." Her words offered a glimpse of a future I desperately needed. For weeks after my father's initial text, I received formal notification. My name was successfully removed from all joint accounts and loans. My parents had to refinance at a higher interest rate. Melissa moved back home. The family credit card was closed. The practical disentanglement was complete, but the emotional aftermath continued. My mother still left voicemails. My father's threats evolved into ominous silence. Melissa's social media campaign expanded to a family healing fundraiser for her boutique, effectively monetizing the conflict. Through it all, I maintained my boundaries. No direct engagement, documentation of all communication, focus on building new connections. Each day brought small victories. Healing isn't linear, Dr. Mitchell reminded me during a difficult session after I'd received a holiday card from my mother with my image cut out of every family photo. But the important thing is the overall trajectory. And slowly, imperceptibly at first, that trajectory began pointing upward. 6 months after that text, I stood in the empty living room of my new apartment, 15 miles from my old place. Sunlight streamed through wide windows, illuminating freshly painted walls. Everything, from the kitchen utensils to the bedding, was new, chosen to reflect my preferences. This physical relocation was the final step in a transformation that began with that fateful text. My life had been completely restructured, from my living space to my understanding of what family truly meant. Professionally, the past 6 months brought unexpected growth. Without the constant drain of family drama, my focus sharpened. The Westbrook account was secured, followed by 3 others. 2 months ago, I was promoted to team leader. "Your confidence has completely transformed," my supervisor commented during my review. Whatever personal challenges you were working through clearly led to professional growth. He couldn't know how accurate that was. The skills I developed in setting boundaries, communicating clearly, and standing firm translated directly into leadership. My personal growth was equally profound. The panic attacks on Sunday evenings disappeared. The constant background anxiety, like static I couldn't turn off, faded to silence. In its place, a calm self-assurance I'd never experienced. My phone still lit up with contact attempts. My mother's monthly guilt emails. My father's announcements to relatives that he'd never speak to his ungrateful son again. Melissa's calculated invitations to heal our family wounds, sent just after she'd been denied another business loan without a cosigner. Each attempt was easier to recognize for what it was, not genuine connection, but hooks designed to pull me back into old patterns. I maintained my policy of non-engagement. Meanwhile, my actual support network flourished. Weekly dinners with Marcus, his boyfriend Tyler, and friends. Audrey and I developed a close friendship. My relationship with Aunt Patricia deepened, filling in missing pieces of family history. Most importantly, I'd begun building what Dr. Mitchell called a chosen family, connections based on mutual respect and genuine care, not biological obligation. These relationships operated by entirely different rules. Disagreements occurred without threats of abandonment. Boundaries were respected. Love was expressed through actions. My therapy sessions decreased to bi-weekly, focusing on long-term healing. In our most recent session, Dr. Mitchell asked a question that gave me pause. If your family contacted you tomorrow with genuine acknowledgement and apology, what would you want? 6 months ago, I would have desperately wanted reconciliation at any cost. Now, I recognize that genuine change would require something my family seemed fundamentally incapable of providing: accountability. I'd need acknowledgement of the manipulation, I told her. Not just apologies for incidents, but recognition of the patterns. And completely different boundaries: financial separation, respect for my autonomy, no more emotional blackmail. And if they can't provide that, she asked gently, then I continue on the path I've chosen, I said, surprised by the peace I felt. I've learned that family isn't defined by blood or obligation. It's defined by mutual respect, support, and healthy love. Standing in my new apartment, unpacking boxes, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Not for the text itself, the cruelty still stung, but for the strength I'd found in responding to it. For the first time in my life, I had acted in alignment with my own values, rather than reactive fear or obligation. I placed a framed photo on my new bookshelf. Not a family portrait, but a picture from last month's trip to Lake Michigan with Marcus, Tyler, Audrey, and friends. Laughing faces, genuine smiles, the sunlight catching the water behind us. This was my family now. Chosen, deliberately maintained with care, connected by love rather than obligation. The journey hadn't been easy, and it wasn't completely over. There would be difficult holidays, awkward conversations with acquaintances, and undoubtedly more attempts at manipulation. But I had developed the tools to navigate those challenges without losing myself. My father's text, "We've chosen to sever all contact. Stay away from us forever," had been intended as punishment for my growing independence. Instead, it became the catalyst for true freedom. In trying to control me through rejection, my family had inadvertently released me from the chains of toxic obligation that had bound me for 28 years. If you're watching this and something in my story resonates, please know that you're not alone. Family relationships should uplift and support you, not drain and control you. Sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for yourself, and ultimately for them, is to establish boundaries that protect your well-being. Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with family members? Share your experience in the comments below. And if this story helped you feel less alone, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories about finding strength in challenging situations. Thank you for listening to my journey. Remember, the family you choose can be more healing than the family you were born into.